film unit. That's CNBC.com News Now. I'm Margaret Brennan.
Coming up on Kudlow and Company. So are the big G7 boys going to rescue the dollar? Their policy statement was aggressive, but will they put their money where their mouth is? And the deal market keeps heating up. Blockbuster, Circuit City, Delta Northwest, Microsoft, Yahoo. Isn't this a good sign for a stock market recovery? And skyrocketing food inflation is sparking food riots around the world. Well, how about a dose of free market capitalism, a strong dollar, and free trade? That'll solve the problem. Plus, John McCain declares the U.S. is in recession. And is he really in love with Hillary? And Senator Obama is in deep doo-doo after speaking to the lefty San Francisco Democrats. I'd say he's looking pretty bitter because he's down 20 points to Hillary in a new Pennsylvania poll. We are money, politics, and stocks. That's our beat. Fasten your seatbelts, everybody. Kudlow and Company begins right now. Good evening, everyone. I'm Larry Kudlow. Welcome back to Kudlow and Company. We aim to be right on America, right on business, and right on the money. And yes, we still believe that free market capitalism is the best path to prosperity. On this evening's program, despite slightly better retail sales numbers, stocks today moved lower on earnings worries. And I think it's a legitimate concern. Hey, tax collections from corporate profits have dropped 16% fiscal year to date. The Goldman Sachs strategist says profits will be awful and will put the S&P down to 1,160. By the way, it closed today at 1,328. And then Senator John McCain declared the U.S. is in recession. And meanwhile, there are a lot of deals out there. We're going to cover them all in just a few moments. One of the key issues is whether the Fed, the Treasury, and the G7 is really getting ready for a dollar defense. The blue chips were off 23 points to close at 12,302. The U.S. peso index was flat today. So was gold. Oil closed near 112. And a whole lot of people are concerned about higher food prices and inflation. Foreign markets were down, especially Shanghai. That was off 5.5%, and Japan off 3%. We are going to talk about it all. So we have CNBC's Dennis Neal. We have Steve Moore, Wall Street Journal. Kevin Kerr, Kerr Trading, and editor of Resource Trader Alert. CNBC contributor Andy Bush of BMO Capital Markets and author of World Event Trading. All right. And our Kudlow Bear, who lives in constant fear the housing sector might rally someday. Gary Schilling, president of Gary Schilling and Company. I don't want to break the brand, but sometime in our lifetime, housing may do better. All right, gentlemen. Andy Bush, let me begin with you. I want to read the G7 currency statement, which was more aggressive than prior meetings. We're going to put it up on the full screen, I hope. Since our last meeting, there have been at times sharp fluctuations in major currencies, and we are concerned about their possible implications for economic and financial stability. We continue to monitor exchange markets closely and cooperate as appropriate. All right. Andy Bush, A, are they blowing smoke at us? B, will they put any money behind their mouthing these new words? C, what are traders going to do out there? So far, I didn't see today much real action in the currency markets or stocks or bonds. So you start me off. Where's this thing going? What's this mean to you?
Well, first of all, this is the first change in the language in 4 years, Larry, so you know something's afoot. The second thing is that from the people that I talked to surrounding the discussions, they were fairly acrimonious. It was a little bit heated at one point. So my guess is that the U.S. acquiesced and went along with the Europeans as far as changing the language to reflect their concern about a weak dollar. I would say as far as the reaction in the markets reacted really before the opening of the currency markets in Australia and then spent the rest of the time going all the way back the other way. And the reason for that, Larry, is this, is that talk is cheap. And yes, they're just blowing smoke right now. There's a lot of different things they could do to help the dollar. They didn't do any of them. You know, the Fed didn't change their interest rate policy. The ECB didn't ease interest rates, and they didn't massively intervene. You know, my suggestion to the Treasury has been, if you want to really stop the dollar's descent, you'd intervene in the petroleum markets. You'd open up the SPDR and flood the oil markets, and then talk about the weak dollar.
We have a dollar problem. Oh boy, you were doing so well until that
Larry.
Those last
it's
7
tied to
words,
energy.
you hit a train wreck on those last 7 words. Where did you get the
I'll tell you
oil
what,
story
wait,
out of that?
Let me tell you the story.
No, you're
This
losing
is
your
why.
place in line. After that, you are losing your place in line. And I'm going right to my buddy Steve Moore, because, Steve, I do think talk is cheap. And my sources tell me the Treasury Department is not ready for a big dollar defense. And mainly they say, as long as the European bank rate at 4% stays so much above the federal funds rate, which is 2.25%, it would be hopeless and futile to intervene or to talk up the dollar. Now, I want to add, today, Federal Reserve Board Governor Kevin Warsh did, for the first time that I've ever seen him as a Fed governor, actually talk about and even warn about inflation. So, Steve Moore, what do you make of this? Is there a dollar support operation going on here? Are the Europeans ahead of the Treasury here? Who's on first and what's on second?
Well, God, I hope there is a dollar support mechanism in place, Larry, because it's needed. And I've really been making the case that we're not going to see a strong rebound in the economy until the dollar turns around and stops the slide.
Or the stock market.
Well, exactly. They're in. And it's interesting that the G7 leaders are now talking about, well, maybe the dollar has slid too much, because, as you know, it hasn't been the last 4 years. It seems like it's the last 40 years that the Europeans have said that the dollar is too strong. The irony here is that as the dollar has slid, this was supposed to increase American exports, reduce these trade imbalances, and all it's done is thrown turmoil into the world markets. And so I do believe that we need tighter money, but also, Larry, we need to increase demand for dollars. You taught me this, and the way to do that is through supply-side tax cuts. Make America a more attractive place to invest.
Slash those corporate tax rates. Hopefully, it
would help the dollar.
Get something out of that from Senator McCain. Okay, Gary Shilling, you don't believe a word of this, I know. And I just want to add, import prices up 2.8% in March. That's for 1 month, okay? 14.8% versus a year ago. And courtesy of my pal Brian Westbury, in the past year, consumer prices up 13% in Russia, 9% in China, 19% in Vietnam, Singapore up 6.5%, and the IMF is talking about the biggest global inflation in 10 years. So I want to ask you, you just want to let the dollar keep falling, right? You just want to let it fall until no one will buy it at any time in my lifetime.
Actually, I think it's probably about time for intervention.
Really?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you why. If you look back, no wait, here's the model, Larry.
In our position.
Here's the model. Early 80s. The dollar was very strong. It got too strong. They all worried about it. They had the Plaza Accord in 1985, you remember, and the dollar had already started to weaken. They climbed aboard a moving train and claimed that they were responsible for making it move. I think we're in the same juncture right now. The dollar, in my view, actually started to rally in mid-March.
In reverse, the reverse of the Plaza Accord.
It started to rally because you got a lot of the shorts squeezed in it. I think this is a global recession. The dollar's going to be the safe haven. Once again, I wouldn't be surprised to see G7 intervene, climb aboard the moving train, and take credit.
This is extremely sensible, what you're saying. This is extremely sensible.
You mean we agree?
This is unbelievably. Now, you're not going to agree with this either, because you don't think there is inflation, and I'll just add on to that, you don't think there's recession either. You disagree with John McCain, who declared a recession today, mistaking he's bucking for a National Bureau of Economic Research position instead of president. He thinks he's Marty Feldstein, and he came out for a recession.
GDP growth, fourth quarter, 0.6%, not negative. Retail sales from the government up slightly.
Wait a minute, let's put the retail sales number on. I don't want to disillusion Dennis. I don't want to disillusion my buddy Dennis. Let's put the retail sales number in real terms and nominal terms. Here, real retail sales are down 3.1% at an annual rate in the first quarter.
Well, you know what? Investors aren't doing the math on that. They're just happy that it wasn't like down 10%. Look, I think the biggest problem I have with this dollar thing.
You just think investors are the little people. They don't know.
Is it wrong in thinking that the weak dollar is primarily the U.S.'s own fault and that we really won't get serious about fixing it until the weak dollar really is visibly hurting our economy? And I don't think it has been up until now. We're starting to see inflation, food prices go up, oil prices go up because of the weak dollar. But until then, it's helping our exports. And
it's affecting profits. See, it's affecting
hurting
profits.
other economies far more than it's hurting our own.
It's affecting profits because you buy these raw materials in dollars, so sky high costs in almost every energy sector, but everything, chemicals, industrials, and we're having a big profit slowdown, which worries me now. Now, Kevin Kerr, let's complete the circle on this. I'm still giving Andy a chance to lick his wounds on that energy play. We're going to get
you
back.
Mentioned energy.
We're going to get back to
energy in the dollar there. I just want to point that out.
You know what it is? The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, Andy. If you want to go after the dollar, then go after the dollar. But Kevin Kerr, front page stories, global food inflation, and as it turns out, international food fights. Let me read you some of these riots in Haiti, Egypt, Cameroon, Ivory Coast, Senegal, Ethiopia. Now, of course, Kevin, I would argue, I mean, let's take Haiti for a minute. Haiti is one non-stop riot because it's a totalitarian command and control dictatorship type economy. So I want to ask you, draw the linkages here between the cheap dollar and the skyrocketing food prices and these riots, if there are any linkages in your mind.
Well, clearly, Haiti is filled with riots consistently. It's like Nigeria. We always see this. But you know, what's interesting here is there's plenty of food on the shelves in Haiti. It's just the prices have gone up so much nobody can afford it.
You just nailed it. Good for you.
Good news from Venezuela. Chavez says he's going to send over 200 tons of food, where his inflation is 20%. How he's doing that, I guess it's easy to spend other people's money. But the bottom line is we have seen these kind of complaints and problems in other countries, too. Italy, I was there a year ago, and they were having pasta riots. Clearly not violent. People didn't die, but the concerns are there. We've seen it in Mexico. We've seen it all over the world. Prices are going up not just because of the weak dollar. I agree that's a huge part of it, and I've said it on this program before, but it's also global pent-up demand for these grains. We're seeing it everywhere.
And Kevin, walk me through a scenario. I don't know how far out you want to go, 6 months, 12 months, but it does kind of appear. I mean, I think the cheap dollar forces central banks to print more money. They buy dollars to smooth it so the dollar doesn't collapse, and then they print more money, and in effect, the cheap dollar causes global liquidity excess, global money supply excess, and that in turn leads to inflation. But your other point is important, too. There is a global boom going on out there. How high are these food prices going to keep going? And while you're at it, I want you to talk a little bit about oil and gold.
Yeah, well, we've seen inflation in food prices go up 60% since January in some instances. Rice prices have just exploded. I think these prices could go much higher. You know, there's a big fact I haven't really discussed yet, which is, are we going to have a good crop year this year? You know, are we going to be able to bring in all the yield we need not only for the biofuel, but also for the feedstocks and just our supplies here in the country? India has just shut off all exports for grains. They're keeping all that. We're seeing a lot of protectionism coming in. Gold and oil, gold, you know, it's going to be dollar dependent in many ways. To get back up over the 950 level, speculators that were never there before that got hurt on this last pullback are going to have to come back in. And oil is strong. It boggles my mind, oil at this level, at this point. This, I believe, is clearly above the 110, 111 level just because of the dollar weakness and the Fed not defending the dollar.
Did we put up the copper chart just in the middle of all this? Did we show the copper chart? Because the copper chart is very strong also, courtesy of my pal Mark Perry at Carpe Diem. Maybe we can get that up on the full screen. Look at that copper thing, man. That thing is just relentless. Now, Dennis,
Larry,
there's another piece to this I want to ask you about. Wouldn't it be nice if the United States quit subsidizing this corn ethanol stuff? I mean, is that the stupidest non-capitalist, non-free market thing?
Absolutely. It would be nice if the U.S. would actually take a look at all $35 to $40 billion a year in agricultural subsidies we do to protect our farmers from foreign competition and keep out cheaper stuff.
And it's not just that, by the way.
And the same with Japan, and the same with the Europeans, which do another $40 billion.
Are we
the whole thing is screwed up, but ethanol is the worst because there's something obscene about burning food for fuel.
The Farm Bill is up this week. The Farm Bill is up this week to be voted on. So there's a great.
Well, now, are we still paying farmers not to grow crops, Steve Moore? Is that what we're doing in the middle of a farm? I don't know, whatever it is, a farm crisis or a farm food problem?
Well, basically, we're giving them direct subsidies. But here's the problem: it's not just the corn market. What has happened because the price of corn has gone up so much because of the ethanol subsidy, Larry, that farmers who used to grow beans and wheat and everything else are converting their fields to corn, and so that's one of the reasons, you know, rice and all these other commodities are so expensive.
Wait a minute. Hey, corn planting is down this year. It's beans that are up because it takes a lot of fertilizer for corn and so on. But the good news on this is that the biofuel nonsense is really going the way of all flesh, because right now ethanol prices are down, corn prices are up. Nobody's making any money, even with the subsidies, even with the import duties from ethanol from Brazil, which is a lot cheaper, made out of sugar.
Yeah.
I think this thing is going to disappear, and as a source of energy, unless they get switchgrass straightened out, which they will, that's cellulose, and there's a lot of land they can grow that on, pasture land.
Why don't they drill in Anwar? Why don't they drill offshore? Why don't they develop nuclear power?
Hey, I agree with
Why don't they go for clean coal?
Tar
Why don't we
sands,
go? Why don't we go
shale.
for? Yes. Why don't we go for oil sands like the Canadians?
Well,
why don't we do any of this
because
stuff?
you got a lot of
Where are
nuts
you
in
on
this.
this stuff? I haven't heard you on this. Are you for? You
Well,
want
no,
a diversified oil portfolio?
I think
or are you a
ethanol
total
is
greenie?
I think ethanol is really a bad policy.
You don't like
it would
ethanol.
terrible government intervention, and when they can finally do it at a great profit, at far cheaper than other sources of energy, then it will
Who was
catch
the
on.
author of the ethanol subsidy policy for fuel diversification?
I don't know who that is.
I think it was a senator from Iowa.
I believe it was George W. Bush.
Yeah.
Steve Moore. Now, what party is he from?
Gee, I forget. Well, this is, Larry, there's so much partisanship in Washington. The only thing that all the politicians agree on is they need more ethanol subsidies, because Iowa's the first primary every 4 years.
You know,
Actually, John McCain, I know he declared a recession today, but he has always run against those ethanol
Give him credit
subsidies
for that.
in Iowa. Andy Bush, on the way out, tell me about your oil plan. Now, are you going to say we should stop buying strategic petroleum reserves? Is that your view?
Well, my view is this, is that there's an unvirtuous cycle related to energy with the U.S. dollar, and it has to do with, as you mentioned, U.S. dollar reserves in countries like the Middle East, Venezuela, and Russia. Just to keep their reserve ratios the same, they're receiving more dollars from the higher energy, higher crude prices.
Right.
So they always have to buy euros. We see them all the time, every day. If you make energy go lower, then it takes away some of the need for them to buy euros every day.
Well, that's another reason for the dollar. You got to strengthen the greenback. I mean,
that's exactly right.
That's exactly right.
Andy,
And so my solution would be to flood the markets with some oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve and intervene in the U.S. markets for the dollar.
It won't affect the price at all. I mean, the only good thing about not buying oil for the Strategic Petroleum Reserve right now is it's so expensive. It doesn't make a lot of sense to buy it when it's so expensive.
Well, you're supposed to buy cheap and sell high. I think we're doing it in reverse. We're buying high and we sell cheap.
You know what could be done immediately? Remove the 53-cent tariff on imported ethanol from Brazil.
Oh, you are so right. That is a great point. That would help. Andy, I want to ask you, you operate in the pits, or at least partly so. Are currency traders going to test this G7 alleged dollar defense or dollar support statement? Are they going to test it?
We already have. We took the euro all the way back up almost near the all-time highs, near 159 today. So, yeah, we've done it already, Larry.
In other words, might the currency traders, a la George Soros, heaven forbid, but might they really make a run against, I know they're all short the dollar, but might they double their bets against the dollar? That's what worries me, and really create some chaos while the G7 continues to quarrel amongst itself.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think if we've learned anything from the inaction by the G7 is that they remain a rather ineffectual group when it comes to influencing the U.S. dollar or currencies overall. So this is a dangerous time.
Would you recommend buying stocks if this dollar free fall continues?
It depends on which stocks.
Now, Schilling is right. There's the vestiges of a bottom, but I'm not so sure. It's just not enough time. Does that affect the stock market?
People should be buying all along, because in the second half, this market's going to revive.
Really?
Yeah, I really believe that.
When is this?
It starts after the start of the third quarter, which means we're already more than halfway past the slow first half.
You don't care about corporate profits. Corporate profits don't bother you.
And tech profits in the second quarter, S&P 500 tech profits are forecast to be up 18%.
I'm not talking forecast. I've long gone past point forecast. 36 companies have reported share-weighted profits are down 28%. I look at the IRS profits.
Well, what is it ex-financials? They're up like 6% ex-financials.
Non-financials, actually you're wrong. Share-weighted ex-financials are down 6%. Non-financial profits from the GDP, which is IRS, those things are down 25% since late 2006. That is a problem. I want to be a bull. I am a long-term bull like you, but I got to see some earnings. What do you think? This guy from Goldman Sachs said profits are going to be awful. And what did he say? The S&P is going down to 1,100 something. Goldman Sachs, they're important.
And
they're
if
not
it
like
does
you
go
and
down
me.
there,
They're
make sure you buy, because it will not stay there. And a year from now, it will be far higher. I mean, over the long term, and you should be investing for the long term, not for each day's fluctuation.
I actually agree with
agricultural stocks will lead the way.
Well, the producers have done well, Kevin, but not the distributors. They've done lousy. Kevin Kerr, Andy Bush, and Gary Schilling. Thank you ever so much. We got much more. Dennis Neal and Steve Moore coming up later in the program. Wall Street, deals. And Goldilocks told me that's a good sign. We're going to have to dig down deep and tell you where the action is. And food inflation everywhere, even sparking riots as we just discussed. How about some capitalism and a strong dollar to solve all those problems? Senator Obama is swallowing his bitter pill. One poll now shows him down 20 points to Hillary in Pennsylvania. And McCain declares the U.S. is in recession, as we said. And is he in love with Hillary? This is an interesting story. He wants Hillary to run against him. We're for keeping America great and prosperous. Let us start by strengthening the greenback. Kudlow & Company. We'll be right back.
Senator, little straight talk here. Are we in a recession?
I certainly think so. Important factor here is that Americans are hurting. Americans are hurting today. I mean, these are very, very tough times in America. And they're not too interested, frankly, in the technical as whether we're in a recession or not.
Wow, this Subaru Tribeca has a great interior.
Award-winning, actually. Backup camera. It handles better than our car. But then again, it does have all-wheel drive standard, a 256 horsepower engine, and a top safety pick award, a DVD player, third row seats, and 4 cargo area tie-down hooks.
I love it when you talk car.
The all-wheel drive Subaru Tribeca.
Fidelity is growing its online trading business faster than E-Trade, Schwab, and TD Ameritrade. Only if you backtest your strategies against an entire portfolio of stocks. Plus, you'll get advanced, customizable trading platforms. And you get the kind of execution you'd expect from Fidelity, with a dedicated specialist to talk about even your most complex trades. They'll even help expedite the account transfer process.
Trade like a pro. Trade with Fidelity.
No. Yeah. No, I'm at the shed, so.
The fastest starting camera of its kind is here.
Yes, it's happening right
The
now.
new Nikon Coolpix S600.
I don't know why. No, they don't think I know.
Its speed makes it amazing. Its lens makes it a Nikon. The new Nikon S600.
I'll send you copies.
Oh!
Get your pics onto Ashton's Nikon at AshtonsCoolPix.com.
Tonight, this mighty metal has a historic following, but is all that glitters good? The guys dig into Gold Rush 08, CNBC 8 Eastern.
Optimum Rewards, a special rewards program exclusively for Optimum customers. Yours free when you have all 3 Optimum services. Optimum Rewards members can win a $5,000 Mother's Day shopping spree. Give Mom the experience of a lifetime. Her special day will include pampering at a day spa, shopping with a personal shopper, dinner for 4, limo transportation, and more. For more details, go to OptimumRewards.com/mom today. Unique experiences, free movie nights, savings off your monthly cable bill, and more. There are ordinary rewards, then there's Optimum Rewards.
After a tough win, nighttime can be pain time.
New Icy Hot PM. Icy to dull pain, hot to relax it away. The first Icy Hot with powerful PM relief to sleep and wake up pain-free.
Icy Hot PM. Lights out on pain.
After 40, my skin looked tired.
Introducing Gold Bond Ultimate Restoring Lotion. Moisturizers, vitamins, and restoring CoQ10 help skin renew itself.
Can your lotion do that?
Gold Bond Ultimate Restoring.
This stuff really works.
All right, welcome back, everybody. So, the deal market keeps heating up. Take a look at this. Blockbuster Circuit City, Delta Northwest, Microsoft, Yahoo. Well, isn't all this stuff going to be good for stock market recovery? Deals used to be good. Here to report is the best in the deal business himself, Andrew Ross Sorkin, New York Times. We've got Rob Cox, U.S. editor for BreakingViews.com. And, oh my Lord, Herb Greenberg, CNBC contributor and senior columnist at MarketWatch, and Dennis Neal is still with us. So, Andrew, first of all, I don't care where you start. Start with Blockbuster Circuit City. Where's that going to go? Is this a good thing or a bad thing? I'm not seeing the positive market-wide effects of these deals, which in the past has often accompanied a flurry. I mean, if something's going on for a change, instead of all being frozen up, I would regard that as good, but stocks don't agree with me today.
You know, it's hard to take from that one, and that one in and of itself feels so strange, right? You can't mate 2 dogs and get a pony, and I'm not sure you're going to find a pony in this one anywhere, frankly. I think what we're seeing is, 3 individual deals, the Blockbuster Circuit City stuff, the Microsoft Yahoo stuff, and the Delta stuff, and we're trying to say 3 is a trend, but I'm not so sure it is. I'm sorry to tell you that, the folks on Wall Street wish there was a pipeline of deals coming, and there isn't. This should be a barometer of confidence in the boardroom, but I'm also not sure it is either. And so all of the traditional measures that we normally look at, I'm not sure are there. I hate to go down on the Goldilocks theory here, but I'm not so sure it's going to work out.
I'd venture to go so far as to say these are deals of desperation. I mean, all 3 of them, they show a certain amount of desperation. I mean, Blockbuster is one of the great patients of American retailing, and it's looking for an organ transplant, so it's trying to dive after Circuit City.
Why is Carl doing this, Rob? What's his, why is he doing this? I mean, Carl's not dumb.
No, look, I mean, in some ways, Blockbuster's a bit like, I guess what Warren Buffett used to call a cigar butt. You have a few puffs left before the thing's extinct. Right. And in a way, I mean, he's going to puff a bit of cash out of this thing. You figure out what you're going to do with that cash. One idea might be to buy this, to go after Circuit City, which is also, again, it's one of the sick patients of retailing.
Rob, if that's true, why don't you just take the cash out, give a dividend to everybody? Why are you taking this cash and putting it into this other thing?
Arguably, that's what one should do, right? I mean, that's puff it and let everyone inhale the smoke.
Inhale the smoke and it's over, right?
But no CEO wants to give that up, right?
Well,
they want to run a company.
Herb Greenberg, I never inhale, at least not anymore. But I do want to ask your view on this deal, and I want you to lob in for me a little Delta Northwest, and then I want you to tell me why these deals and steals aren't helping the stock market like they normally do.
Well, the one thought I had in this deal is perhaps if Carl really is the driver here, perhaps he wants to see if he can do something to have a vehicle that will buy up distressed retailers or troubled retailers, and this maybe becomes his vehicle. I don't know. It's as good a guess as any. But Larry, why in the world would you expect, as Andrew said earlier, so appropriately, so wisely, and as Rob said, why in the world would you have weak deals prop up a market? Larry, where's the financing going to come from to create a deal-driven market right now? That's in it in a nutshell.
All right, Dennis, you listen to Herb. He's got his usual cheerful gloss on the whole story. Do you have any disagreement at all? Is there any hope for this story?
Well, the nice thing, he's right about financing the credit markets, but the nice thing is Icon came and said, hey, pay cash, I'll finance it for you, Blockbuster.
He's the credit market.
In that case, look, the Blockbuster Circuit City deal makes no sense. I mean, Circuit City does have $300 million in cash and $1 billion worth of property on its books. Maybe you buy it thinking there's a real estate play, but you're going to buy real estate now? The thing is, while the deals aren't coming storming back, as Andrew says, and he's the expert on that, somebody somewhere has hope and finds value out there. The private equity buyers who are buying $5 billion, $7 billion in bad loans from banks, they see some value. They realize they might have been marked down way too much. I mean, at least there's a little bit of hope.
Instead of everything frozen up, all right, Rob Cox, instead of everything frozen where investors won't invest, lenders won't lend, and borrowers can't borrow, at least something's going on. This is one of these deals where a little movement is a good thing, not a bad thing.
Well, that's right. And it's unlevered.